The sharp scent of cut metal still hung in the cold morning air when the security feed caught her. Designer sunglasses. Fresh blowout. Bolt cutters gleaming like stolen silver. She didn't just unlock my Jeep. She severed the chain with the confidence of someone who thought the law was her personal accessory. The tires crunched over gravel as she drove off, straight toward her own destruction. Because this wasn't just any Jeep. This was a federal police asset, bait in an ongoing task force operation she'd just hijacked from my driveway. And the question wasn't if she'd be caught. It was how much prison time she'd earned before the cuffs even clicked. 2 weeks earlier, Pinewood Estates had been unnervingly quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel like peace. It feels like the pause before a storm. For months, our HOA president, Tiffany Crowell, had been turning the neighborhood into her personal fiefdom. Rules rewritten overnight. Petty fines mailed with the punctuality of a tax bill. And a constant, simmering threat beneath every interaction. I'd learned to expect her harassment. What I didn't expect was how far she'd go. See, my Jeep wasn't just a vehicle. It was part of an undercover sting, a joint task force operation targeting a multi-state catalytic converter theft ring. Officially, it was assigned to me for community liaison transport. Unofficially, the inside was wired with hidden GPS, audio mics, and a camera system that could survive a bomb blast. The task force had parked it in my driveway for visibility, bait for suspects under surveillance. Only the local police chief, 2 federal agents, and I knew its true purpose. But Tiffany, she'd had her eye on it for weeks. She'd hinted at non-compliant exterior accessories and unauthorized parking, citing HOA guidelines she'd practically invented on the spot. My polite refusals only seemed to sharpen her appetite. Neighbors had learned to read the danger in her stilettos clicking up a driveway. That morning, those stilettos would carry her straight into the kind of trouble you can't charm your way out of. And she was about to learn that cutting a lock wasn't just petty vandalism. It was tampering with federal evidence. And in Pinewood Estates, that mistake could cost you your freedom. Tiffany Crowell was the kind of woman who turned HOA bylaws into weapons. 46 years old. Pilates sculpted arms. Wardrobe curated to scream respectable affluence in every neighborhood Facebook post. She owned a corner lot McMansion with a wine cellar, a pool cabana, and a security gate she'd made sure was taller than anyone else's. Her reputation was a blend of charm and menace. A voice that could sweet-talk a contractor into free upgrades, then turn ice-cold if you didn't attend her HOA mandatory mixers. She didn't just run Pinewood Estates. She ruled it. The problem? She was addicted to control. And my Jeep, matte black, heavy-duty tires, police-grade antenna, represented something she couldn't control. It wasn't parked in my garage where she could ignore it. It sat in my driveway like a dare, every day, reminding her there were things outside her reach. She'd tried everything. Violation notices for visual disruption, bogus claims about oil leaks, even an anonymous complaint about possible gang-related decals that were, in reality, tactical unit stickers. The morning she decided to act, she dressed like she was running errands. Baseball cap, athleisure jacket, expensive sneakers meant for looking sporty, not sweating. She carried bolt cutters in a designer tote bag, their black steel jaws barely peeking over the edge. By 8:42 a.m., she'd parked 2 blocks away to avoid my cameras, unaware my system could read a license plate from 200 feet. By 8:45, she was on my property. By 8:47, the chain was in 2 pieces. What she didn't know? The Jeep had just pinged the task force server. Every agent on the case was now watching her in real time. The footage was cinematic in its stupidity. She slid behind the wheel, eyes darting in quick, nervous sweeps. The Jeep's ignition was disabled, but Tiffany wasn't the type to get her hands dirty with hot wiring. No, she called someone. Audio picked up her side of the conversation. It's ready. Bring the trailer. No, now. Within 15 minutes, a beat-up flatbed rolled into view. 2 men, mid-30s, wearing neon safety vests like discount disguises, jumped out. They loaded my Jeep like it was theirs, strapping it down with professional speed. Not joyriders. Professionals. Every agent monitoring the feed knew what that meant. Tiffany wasn't just being petty. She was feeding stolen property into a network. I was still in court downtown when the first alert hit my phone. Task force priority. Asset moved. Suspect in HOA jurisdiction. By the time I got to the command center, The room was alive with voices. GPS shows northbound on County 17. Unit Bravo. Tail without engagement. Confirm HOA President ID match. Yep, that's her. The Jeep's interior mic caught everything. Tiffany, riding shotgun in the flatbed, complained about my non-compliance and bragged that she'd handle the paperwork later. The men laughed, one saying, "Your HOA gig's paying off, huh?" That was the moment it clicked for the task force. Tiffany wasn't just stealing for herself. She was a supplier. By 10:12 a.m., the convoy pulled into a salvage yard just outside city limits, a known drop site under federal watch. The yard was already under drone surveillance. Tiffany stepped out like she owned the place, walked right into the office, paperwork folder in hand, ready to authorize a sale. Outside, federal agents moved into position. She'd barely started filling out the seller form when the first agent walked in. Not a uniform, plain clothes. Calm smile. Badge flash. "Ma'am, can you step outside?" Tiffany laughed, as if they were joking. When they let her out, she spotted the unmarked SUVs, the sudden swarm of tactical vests, the drone dipping lower overhead. And still, she tried to play it off. "This is a misunderstanding. I'm with the Homeowners Association. That Jeep violates." An agent opened the Jeep's rear compartment, revealing tactical gear, secure comms equipment, and a placard reading property of Joint Federal Task Force. "Do not tamper." The shift in her face was subtle. The moment arrogance began cracking under the weight of reality. She was cuffed before she even finished her sentence. The two men with her, hauled out in zip ties, faces pale under the August sun. By noon, the salvage yard was sealed as a federal crime scene. Evidence markers littered the dirt, receipts, burner phones, cut locks, VIN files. And Tiffany sat in the back of an SUV, silent now, watching her world shrink to the size of a holding cell. What she didn't yet realize, her bolt cutters had cut more than my lock. They'd severed her life into before and after federal prosecution. 2 weeks later, she walked into federal court, not strutting this time, but shuffling in an orange jumpsuit. Her hair, unstyled. Her eyes, hollow. The list of charges read like a career criminal's resume. Interstate transport of stolen property. Tampering with federal evidence. Conspiracy to commit theft. Obstruction of a federal investigation. And then came the twist that broke her completely. The two men she'd hired had already cut deals. Their statements painted her as the willing insider, the HOA president who funneled problem vehicles to the ring in exchange for kickbacks. One even claimed she'd tipped them off about residents on vacation, easy targets for high-end garage burglaries. The courtroom murmured as prosecutors projected the footage. Tiffany cutting my lock, Tiffany calling the trailer, Tiffany riding shotgun to the drop site. No jury in America was going to buy misunderstanding after watching that reel. When the judge denied bail, her mouth fell open in shock, like she'd just realized the HOA didn't have jurisdiction here. By the time sentencing came, the community had turned. Residents she'd once bullied showed up in the gallery. Some cried, some smiled. All watched as she got 8 years federal, plus restitution to every victim of the theft ring. Her house went into foreclosure. The HOA board dissolved under state oversight, and Pinewood Estates got something we hadn't had in years, peace. The Jeep? It went back to the task force. Last I heard, it's still out there, parked in some driveway, waiting for the next idiot to take the bait. For me, the victory wasn't just legal. It was personal. Because Tiffany had taught everyone here a lesson the hard way. Power isn't in a title. It's in knowing the law and knowing when to use it. Ever dealt with an HOA tyrant who thought they were untouchable? Share your story below. You might just help someone else keep their home, their peace, or their Jeep.